Welcome to Kindness Never Fails. The store buzzed with the usual hum of customers, the sound of grocery carts squeaking across tiled floors, and the occasional ring of a cash register. But in the corner, beneath the bright fluorescent lights, a small moment unfolded that would change everything. A man in his late 50s, wearing a plain button-up shirt and dark jeans, blended into the crowd. No one knew he was not just another shopper but the chief financial officer of the company, walking undercover to understand the struggles of his employees. His sharp eyes caught something unusual: a young cashier quietly sliding her lunch container into her bag, untouched, and later handing it to a little girl waiting patiently in the break room. The cashier smiled softly, telling her daughter to eat, while her own stomach went empty. That moment pierced him deeper than any business report ever could. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of real stories, please take a moment to like this video, share it with a friend, and subscribe to our channel. Kindness Never Fails. Together, we can spread hope and healing where it's needed most. Her name was Claire. Only 26, she worked 6 days a week as a cashier, barely holding her life together. She had once dreamed of studying business and building a career, but life had other plans. Her husband had left shortly after their daughter Emily was born, leaving her with nothing but unpaid bills and an empty promise. Claire now juggled long shifts, late nights, and endless exhaustion, just to keep a roof over their heads. Every morning, she dressed Emily in second-hand clothes, tied her hair neatly, and reminded her that they would get through the hard days together. To her co-workers, Claire was just quiet, polite, and hard-working, but behind her tired smile lived a storm of sacrifices. What the CFO, Richard, witnessed that day never left his mind. He had sat through countless boardroom discussions about profits and margins, yet here was a mother giving up her own meal so her daughter could eat. It wasn't just poverty, it was love at its rawest, most unselfish form. He started observing her more closely during his undercover days. He noticed how Claire always volunteered to cover shifts, never complained, and often bought small snacks for her daughter instead of herself. He noticed the way her hands trembled sometimes at the register, not from laziness, but from hunger. One rainy evening, Richard followed at a distance as Claire finished her shift. She held Emily's tiny hand and walked home instead of taking the bus, saving every coin she could. Their shoes splashed through puddles, their clothes damp, but neither complained. In their small rented apartment, dimly lit with second-hand furniture, Claire reheated leftover rice and beans for dinner, serving Emily first and quietly eating what little was left. Richard watched from afar that night, his heart breaking with every detail. He had never felt the weight of his position so deeply. For weeks, he battled with himself. Was it his place to intervene? Could he change one life when so many of his employees might be suffering the same way? But the image of Emily's little face, lighting up at the sight of her mother's sacrifice, haunted him. He knew he couldn't stay silent. The turning point came at the company's quarterly meeting. Richard, still undercover in casual clothes, asked the CEO and board members a question that startled them: do we really know how our employees live when they leave these doors? The room fell silent. He told them about Claire, not by name, but by story. He described her skipped meals, her daughter, and the invisible courage she carried every day. Some executives dismissed it as an isolated case, but Richard knew better. He pushed for change: better wages, meal support, and emergency assistance programs for single parents. The debate was fierce, but Richard refused to let go. Meanwhile, Claire continued her routine, unaware that her quiet sacrifices were being noticed. Until one day, her manager asked her to attend a special announcement at the store. Nervous and unsure, she stood in the back as Richard, now in his suit, revealed his true identity to the staff. Gasps filled the room as he shared the story of an employee's hidden sacrifice. Then, turning to Claire, he said words that made her knees tremble: "This story is yours." He told everyone how her strength had inspired sweeping company changes. Claire's cheeks burned with tears as applause erupted around her. For the first time in years, she felt seen, not as a struggling cashier, but as a hero in her own right. Richard announced that Claire would receive a full scholarship to complete her business degree, along with financial support for Emily's schooling. She stood frozen, unable to believe it was real. In the weeks that followed, the company's new employee assistance programs began, inspired by Claire's quiet resilience. Other workers stepped forward with their own stories, no longer afraid to be vulnerable. The culture began to change, not just in profits, but in people. And through it all, Claire walked with new strength. She was still tired, still fighting each day, but now she carried hope, not just for herself, but for Emily's future. That single moment, the skipped lunch, had become a spark that lit a fire of compassion across an entire company. Richard knew he couldn't solve every problem in the world, but he had learned one powerful truth: sometimes the smallest sacrifices reveal the greatest strength, and the greatest strength deserves to be honored.